What is up, everybody? This is Debo with Debo's Film Reviews, and this week's review will be S.W.A.T, starring Samuel Jackson, Michelle Rodriguez, Colin Farrell, and LL Cool J, featuring Olivia Martinez and Reggie Caffey, Jeremy Renner, and what was one of Renner's actual first breakout roles as hero to her villain Brian Gamble. I gotta say, excellent film based off an excellent series, which of course got remade into another excellent series. Actually, excellent casting all around. I mean, between the Steve Forrest version of Hondo to Samuel Jackson in this film and Shamar Moore in the current adaptation. Same with the character Jim Street in both Robert Urich and Alex Russell, and of course Farrell in this film. And I gotta say, epic film. Flaw wise is kind of the PG-13 rating, which watching which trailer as a kid I almost thought was a good, but as an adult I'm just like could have up the body count some action for Rowland, and of course for give Samuel Jackson a chance to use his iconic swear words, because it ain't Samuel Jackson if it ain't saying motherfucker. And oof. And of course, this is back when Farrell's still trying to be an action star and all. And I gotta say, he actually did an excellent take on it with this film. And of course, with Michelle Rodriguez as Chris Sanchez. I mean, excellent for an original character, and I mean that in a good way. I mean, because she's a badass, and especially an epic storyline of how it starts off at the beginning where Street's on a team and he and his partner are trying to take down these bank robbers, and then only to have Gamble, who was played by Jeremy Renner, wing some woman, and then they both get kicked off, and then with Gamble leaving the force and becoming a villain and all, and of course with Farrell, of course, going to the gun cage, which is also adapted into I think season 2 storyline down in the current series. But overall, epic casting between of them and Olivia Martinez, and I would say was his best role ever of being Alex Montel as the old international drug lord who gets captured, and he's all, "I shall offer $100 million to whoever gets me out of here." I mean, thinking he's Dr. Evil or something. And talk about some epic scenes, and for the 80s, epic training montage of actually with the use of crosstown traffic by Jimi Hendrix, and some range scenes alongside action scenes, because talk about some badassery with that one, in the so-called rivalry between Street and McCabe, who was also a character in the original series, and in the original series was the main sniper, while just some team player turned villain in the movie, and of course non-existent in the current adaptation as of now. And of course with epic casting of LL Cool J's Thinking K, and I gotta say, best thing he's done. There's some epic running scene where he's chasing the dude in the Laker jacket, and then of course gets recruited to SWAT by Hondo and Street, and surprisingly, Street got reinstated after being on the Captain Shit list at the beginning of the movie. And of course, with some training scenes like we mentioned the pistol showdown and the sniper poker, which of course is practically the most epic card game in cinema history, in my opinion. Because surprisingly, we don't see that in westerns. In westerns, usually they just play a game, not use them as cards as targets. But overall, epic action, even for the training scene, especially the plane train simulation. You call it, where they're supposed to deter hijacking, and of course with some jabs about between Hondo and Street about how they were between SEALs and Marines and all, and which of course their training gets used in later on in the film, like the sewer scene when they get after McCabe turns traitor and all, wanting to collect that bounty, and of course they both get their comeuppance, although surprisingly in the showdown between Street and Gamble, didn't turn out into a shootout and all. Although with an R-rated film, it could have been some John Woo shit. And of course with some cameos, of course, with Bridge the Midget and Bishop Don Magic Wand, surprisingly. But it just had to point those two out. And, of course, with Steve Forrest driving the truck, it was best known as the original Hondo, I think, if I hadn't already mentioned. But overall, SWAT at least is a 4 out of 5. I'm giving 4 out of 5. I mean, or scratch that out 5 out of 4.5 out of 5, because great, but I mean, kind of very epic for a PG-13 film. I mean, if it was R-rated, the only difference would have been just Samuel Jackson would get to say motherfucker more than once, which of course Renner got the credit, got to be the one that used it at the beginning after getting kicked off SWAT, and he quits the force and becomes a criminal and all. And then with the character acting chemistry between Rodriguez, Jackson, and Farrell, and LL Cool J, I would say, talk about an epic film in this film. In this case, I mean, come on. Especially those attempted escape scenes where they going after the prison bus, which is surprisingly a regular old Greyhound type deal, not a regular old international bus with just painted white like most prison buses are. And of course with that attempted escape scene, and then it gets forwarded by the heroes of SWAT, and then the decoy scene, and after the guy with at least a 50 cal sniper rifle tries to take down that helicopter, and then the decoy convoy and the gangbangers try to collect that bounty, and then when they're trying to, and then of course in the third attempt, which is McCabe and Gamble, talk about, and back to that showdown between, you could almost say it was like Bullseye meets Hawkeye. You could say that moment Bullseye killed Hawkeye in a way. Which of course Farrell somewhat, well, I'm going to say terrible, but I'm going to save that for that review. But let y'all know that's going to be in the near future. And of course, surprisingly, in some differences between this series and all, movie and this series, and like in their series, original series, they had a TJ Mc, there was a TJ McCabe and Dominic Luca, while in the movie that had didn't have no Dominic Luca, which of course in the current series, Kenny Johnson knocks it out of the park on that one, and of course, it was just an excellent plus. And man, talk about some epic action in this film. I mean, kind of like surprisingly, they didn't have a scene where they're trying to stop Ford armored car robbery by, in them conventional Suburbans they usually run around in and try to in a chase and all. Kind of like that would have been an epic scene in that where they where they Ford a, where they stop a armored car robbery. But I'd say the beginning of the movie was a little reminiscent of 44 Minutes, which surprisingly, I don't know if they already put that song in the soundtrack for a series. Use that song in a future episode of the current series for once, because I mean, yeah, a little off topic, but still kind of fits. And overall, excellent film. I hope y'all liked and enjoyed my review of it. Enjoy, people.